Uncle Ron's stuff. Today's episode is about PS2 and USB. Most people don't know what PS2 is about, but I don't get rid of much of anything. And I do have computers that have two PS2 keyboard and mouse ports on them, and they're typically like this. They're round and they're color coded. One's green, one's purple. I don't know if you can see it that well here, but anyway. All right. Um, but the world has shifted over to USB. You're familiar with that connector. Okay. So it doesn't happen very often, but sometimes. And here's an example that I had, and it explains what you got to watch out for if you are going to try to go from PS2 to USB. What you typically get and what you think will work is these adapters like this. You plug your USB in one end. In this particular case, it's a female. I have some males as well somewhere. Here's an example. This is you plug your your PS2 end on this end, and the other end you can plug into a USB port on your computer. Sometimes it works. Most times it's not going to. It depends on the device, even keyboards. They may say they work, but they will not. This simple device is not going to take care of the translation from PS2 to USB. Not by itself. No. I had a case where I use I control three computers with a particular it's a switch. I think they call it just a switch, and I can use one keyboard, one mouse, and one monitor to control three computers. And I just switch between. I want to go to computer 2. I do computer 3, 4. Okay. Now the switch I have is really old, and it was all geared for PS2. Well, the world has changed, and they don't even sell much PS2. It's hard to find a PS2 keyboard or a PS2 mouse anymore because it's all USB. But I had the case where I got a free computer in, and it had no PS2 ports on it, so I wanted to be able to control it with my switch, which was already set up for PS2. And for whatever reason, in my case, I use a Logitech trackball, and the one I use has USB on it. And if I connected the USB to an adapter like this and plugged it in my switch, it worked fine. I think this just it makes the translation from USB to PS2. That's what it does, and my particular switch was geared for PS2, and it worked okay. Now, when I put my fourth computer or third computer on the switch, I could get the video to display, I could get the keyboard to work, but I could not get this USB marble mouse to work. Okay, I used two different connectors like this, whatever, for the keyboard. Okay, so what you have to get is a device like this, and this device supposedly will make the USB to the it will make the PS2 conversion to USB for you. Same way on the other guy. If you have PS2 devices, you can plug those in, and they will both then plug into one single USB port, and it'll work because there is a chip inside of here. And that's the key. If you have that situation where you want to go from PS2 to USB, you're going to need something like this with a chip in it to actually make that transition. PS2 and USB are not identical standards. Yes, they do sell these sort of connectors. That's iffy. I don't know why they still do that. I guess if the device was made in such a way as it supported both PS2 and USB, this would probably work. In the case of my um, marble mouse, it obviously worked fine in the Switch. It accepted it as a PS2 device, and all was fine. But when I tried to make the connection to my new laptop with no PS2 ports on it, it would not play. So all I'm trying to get around is if you ever have to deal with, you're going to go from PS2 to USB, it is not just a simple, I don't believe this is going to do it for you. You can buy these and try it. But I suspect you're going to need a device like this that has a chip in it that clearly says it can handle um, pure PS2 devices on here into a USB port. Pure PS2 devices, PS2 devices into one port. These won't do it. That's all I'm trying to do. Today is the 16th of January 2025. I doubt very few people will ever have this problem, but there are still computers around. I don't think they manufacture anything with PS2 ports on it anymore, but I know there's still PS2 ports around, and a lack of new PS2 mice, keyboards, all that kind of stuff. Eventually, sooner or later, if you've got a PS2 port, you're going to face the issue of how do I make a USB device work with it. So here is a warning. This may work, but I doubt it. You're going to need something like this. And it may actually need, you may need to clarify that I want to go from USB to PS2. These are meant to go from PS2 to USB. You got to pick the right direction. Today is the 16th of January 2025. This is a quick one. I doubt nobody cares. But it's all about PS2 and USB and making sure they're compatible for your keyboard, your mouse, and what other devices you may have. That's it for today.